Rigetti stock is holding up better than most today. Even though it's down just a tad, it's showing more strength than Nvidia and the rest of the semiconductors. We've been trading it live, and we also shorted the broader semiconductor chip market today. If you want to watch me trade live each morning and catch some of these moves in real time, hit that second link in the description to join us in StockMate. So as you can see, Rigetti stock has had this level at which it's been getting rejected at about $9.50. It recently got rejected again, so if we just kind of pull that level over there, you can see. And this is not new for Rigetti, but there's a few things that we're watching today that I think stand out for potentially some bullish moves. If you take a look back about 3 months from now, or 3 months, let's go 1 year back. There you go. We had a really big surge from about $1 or less than $1 up to $21. And we've been covering it since November. So right when it was around $1 a share. When it spiked to this high of $21 shortly after the CEO of Nvidia said, no, quantum computers are pretty far away. Then right after that, we went to that conference. We got to see firsthand whether or not it was far away. And a lot of what these companies were saying was, no, we're using quantum computers right now. And it makes sense that the market recovered. So it did recover, sold down. Then we saw another event at NVIDIA GTC where NVIDIA announced that they're now doing quantum and they're focusing more on quantum, which is interesting, right? Why did the market sell off so much? Now NVIDIA is focusing on quantum. It's a whole nother thing, a little political, but let's take a look. As you can see, Rigetti stock has been consolidating from left to right really since about February, and it recently sold down. The opportunity here is only presenting itself if we start to see it continue some of this trend that's developing. There is a sell-off right now. It doesn't indicate any full bullish momentum, but you can see a little bit of this recovery here. You guys see this level at which we could map out pretty clearly. Let me just take a look there. So you see this level which we could identify as this trend that's starting. And I almost want to remove this line. You can see if it's going to make this run back up to these $12 ranges, right here is where it's kind of starting to trend. It actually sold down to this previous resistance, and that's where it is now. And this previous resistance might act as a support for it to continue up. Now, the technicals are still bearish. In fact, it's holding below this 50-day moving average. It's below that 200-day moving average. So overall, if we're going to see a recovery, we'd like to see it break up into this $8.50 to $9 range before we have more confirmation. If we do see that level up here, 35%, that's a swing. But right now, it is a little more on the bearish side. It's up now just a tad today. So we're going to watch it closely, see if anything changes throughout the day. But, well, my chart's going weird. But one of the things we look at, one of the things that we're watching, though, with Rigetti is their usage. Are they getting the usage from their quantum computers? We know they've been selling their quantum computers, that they are creating these QPUs that have the ability to potentially put in some quantum chips from other companies like Microsoft or Google, and that their fidelity is increasing. They have contracts with NASA, which indicate more cash flow for the company, and they have distribution channels in AWS, Microsoft, and others. So again, AWS, you could go here. Apparently, you could use this quantum company, this quantum computer through the cloud. Now, some of you guys are really excited. You see the tech. You say it's more efficient than GPUs in certain instances. And for the advent of AI in this boom that we're in, quantum computers make a lot of sense. I don't think that we're going to argue that. I mean, it makes a lot of sense here in the longer term. But in the near term, one of the things that Rigetti's been struggling with, and I could check and see if they have any new articles today, right? But when you take a look at their recent stock financials, they're not too favorable. Actually, before we get into that, is there any brand new news that we should know of? Let me just go direct to the source. Do they have any new news for investors? I don't see anything. They were selected to participate in DARPA's quantum benchmarking initiative, And they're also most likely one of the main companies that's going to receive some of the money from this new bill that was just passed, which is the $2.7 billion Quantum Initiative Reauthorization Act. So this is a bill that's been in effect before, but now we're seeing more funding for quantum computing for IonQ, Microsoft, and most likely going to see Rigetti benefit. Now, outside of that bill, and outside of some of the potential that we see recently on their site, including another contract or strategic partnership with Quanta Computer, the company is committing to investing more than $100 million each over the next 5 years. So Quanta is investing $35 million there to purchase shares of Rigetti, and the market's expected to reach about $1 to $2 billion a year for exactly where Rigetti is by 2030. Some say that's an underestimate. But again, let's take a step back. The financials. When we look at the financials, market cap is high, about 2.5 billion, but they haven't seen a lot of growth in their revenue. In fact, their revenue is down year over year. So revenue's down, net income is down. So you might say, well, okay, so I'm not going to buy it, right? Bad revenue. Part of what's going on with buying any of these companies is you're buying what could be. I don't see any huge commercial contracts. Do you see them experimenting with Microsoft? Yes. See them experimenting with Amazon? Yes. Over maybe on Google with NASA? Yes. But when you take a look at the earnings, you're like, all right, it's red. What gives? Well, let's just take a look at some of the innovations that they've made. They've increased their fidelity by up to 98%, 98.7% on 2-qubit gate fidelity. So in other words, they're starting to learn how to scale these quantum computers and achieve close to error correction with the ability to run very, very complex, different complex problems that fire essentially all at once, simultaneously, as opposed to when you have, let's say, a GPU that might be more linear. Do they work with GPUs? Yes. Do they need classical computing to function? Yes. But the idea is if they're able to solve insanely high complex problems with quantum computers, then they work in tandem with AI. They run the problem through a quantum computer, it spits out a result. In theory, you just run it back through AI. Not even in theory, that's actually what a lot of the quantum companies are saying, is they use in tandem with AI and GPUs and CPUs. So the tech, I say, is on a beautiful trajectory, and I see them growing in the future and can solve some of the biggest problems in the world. And the financials don't look that good. You could take a look at the net income. It's not too beautiful. The balance sheet here, you got sales of, what is that, 240, or is that 2.4 million sales? But the operating income, they got income expenses, 129 million. And then you have some interest expenses there. And the net income is down as a result. And then you say, okay, doesn't look too hot. Let's take a look at what institutions are investing in it. Well, now we got increased positions in the last year of 200 holders. Some of them have decreased. About 50 of them have decreased their position. But overall, we have 258 institutional holders. And these institutions that are looking at Rigetti and investing in it are BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. I mean, we're not talking about small cookies here. We got Bank of America. So the reality is they're still seeing a lot of institutional interest for the long term. And the reality is if they do continue to hold, they're really holding pretty strong, about 0.42%. Well, if you take a look at NVIDIA, I believe it's down at the moment. Some of SPY is up, but Google's down, AMD is down, and they're still kind of doing all right. So let's say they get back into this level. It's a 50% increase. What we're looking for full recovery would be 155%. But again, they're still a little bearish at the moment. You can see holding below that 200-day moving average. And in order for us to really trade it in a bullish manner, I'd like to see it break up above this $9 range and then maybe see a swing up to that $10.50, which would be about a 28% increase. So right now, it's a little more on the bearish side. Yeah, the MACD and the RSI are indicating a buy, but when it comes down to Rigetti stock, I would be looking for a buy only if it breaks above that $9 range, and that would be more of a shorter term trade. I do have some long-term positions in some of these quantum computing companies, including Rigetti, so that's a factor. But at the end of the day, I like to trade short-term as well. I should say the beginning of the day, right at market open, I like to trade as well. If you guys want to join me there, watch me trade live. Our portfolio is up about 0.43%. Even though a lot of the AI companies are down today, we've actually are shorting semiconductors today as a result of tariffs and some other indicators we're seeing. So if you guys want to learn how to invest and join us in our daily live sessions, it's that second link in the description. Would love to have you there. Got a huge sale, so make sure you don't miss it. Thank you guys for watching. If I earned your thumbs up, hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts on Rigetti down below. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.